Hey guys, my name is Elise, or Caffeine Misery, and today I'm going to be talking about a deck that, a little bit late on the profile, I had to take a little bit of a break, but as of DZ-BT-09, Super Brave Nation got a lot of new support, that being Omniscience, Regalia, Minerva. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Going into the ride line, Vivid Rabbit as the starter, just because it's just a starter, that technically can come up in some weird circumstances. Along with that, I'm on the Grade 1 Witch of Frogs Melissa and Grade 2 Witch of Ravens Chamomile, the intended ride line. Both of them have the skill that when they are rode upon by a Genesis unit, you get to check the top 5 cards of your deck and put 2 of them to soul, then shuffle. Along with that, when they are put from soul to drop, as long as you have a Minerva Vanguard, they both can call themselves to rearguard circle with some stipulations. Melissa has to call herself to a backward rearguard circle, but can soul charge 1 when she's placed, if you want to. That is in May, so you're not forced to doing it. Whereas Chamomile costs a counterblast, but can call herself to the front row too, so she can be an extra attack during the battle phase. Other than that, for our Grade 3, we are on the Omniscience Regalia Minerva, which during your turn, as long as the soul has a Grade 3 card with Regalia's name, your front row gains 5k. And as a once per turn, for a single soul blast, you can check the top card of your deck, either leave it on top or put it to soul. And the last one is an auto ability that in most games, as of the most recent set, shouldn't come up, but at the end of the battle she attacks, as long as the opponent's Vanguard is Grade 3 or greater, for a counterblast, 3 soul, and discarding a Genesis from hand, she restands with drive -1. Why will that effect not be coming up? Well, that is because we have the much better Vanguard, the Grade 4 Ultimate Regalia of Almighty Minerva, which cannot be ridden except for by her ability, and only gains that ability amongst others when the opponent's Vanguard is Grade 3 or greater. The ability she gains when that condition is true is that during your turn, your front row gains 10k. As an act in soul, by binding an Omniscience Regalia Minerva on Vanguard Circle and putting a card from hand to soul, you get to ride her as stand. Along with that, if the card put from hand to soul was a Genesis and you didn't ride during the ride phase this turn, she gains the ability that your front row gains 5k. At the end of the turn, you retire her and put the card bound for cost on Vanguard Circle as rest. So what does that mean for the deck? Well, going first, going into your persona ride turn, instead you'll be gaining a +15 to the front row. And the most important skill is this auto she gets that at the end of the battle she attacks. For Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 3, she restands and gets 2 drive. So you attack, activate the ability, at the end of the battle, she restands with 2 less drive checks. Being Grade 4, she does have triple drive. You'll notice that costs one less discard from hand. You don't have to worry about having a specific card to discard. Instead, you're putting a card from hand to soul to ride into her, but that helps you maintain your soul. You can take cards that you drew that you wanted to soul charge and force them in there. It's nice. Going into our Grade 3 cards, I'm on 4 copies of Regalia of Wisdom Angelica, which, at the end of the battle she attacks, as long as you have a Minerva Vanguard, you can Soul Blast 1, choose a Vanguard and give it 5k, then put her to soul to Counter Charge 1. Things to note, that Counter Charge 1, unlike a lot... excuse me. Unlike a lot of counter charges, doesn't have a restriction that you can only do it once per turn. So you can kind of loop that a lot. On that, we're on the Fire Regalis, which can be removed from hand or drop to check the top 5 and reveal a card amongst them. For the second ability you can pick, call it if its grade is less than or equal to your Vanguard. If you don't end up revealing a card, you shuffle up and draw. Going into our Grade 2s, I have an extra copy of Chamomile in the main deck. This is so that you can have a second one in rotation. On that, I'm on 4 copies of Clear Magic Vivine, which is a Genesis as long as you have a Genesis Vanguard. And when she's placed for a single counterblast, you can draw a card, take a card from drop, and put it to soul. Or if you have a Minerva Vanguard, you can pay that with Energy Blast 3 instead, which is relevant for her second ability. That as an auto, when your Grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Minerva attacks, as long as Minerva has not stood by a card's ability this turn, for a single counterblast, she can stand and gains 5k when she does. So she's another multi-attacker for the deck. She's a much better one than Chamomile, in my opinion, because she's more easily repeatable. But I digress. On that, we are on the Keter Sanctuary Ace unit, which for her unique skill, when she's placed on Regalia Circle, she gets 5k. Then for 3 energy, she checks the top 7 of your deck, calls one with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard, and that unit gains the ability that this unit cannot be chosen by your card's ability or retired by your opponent's card ability for the turn. Then you shuffle. On that, when she attacks, she has the same kind of plus another 10 as every other Ace unit, gaining 5k as long as the opponent's on grade 3, then gaining an additional 5k if you have 4 or more rear guards. Lastly, for grade 2 units, I'm on 3 copies of Divine Sister Biscotti. The only skill that'll matter for this deck is this first auto that when she's put on Guardian Circle or discarded to ride, for Counterblast 1 or Energy Blast 3, she draws a card. And the reason for that is you do not Soul Blast. You can have a build where you can't, not Soul Blast, you do not Persona Ride. You can have a build where you Persona Ride, but I personally don't think it's that good. I think you're taking up space when you could be focused on charging through and really digging through your deck, focusing on consistently seeing your grade 4. I digress though. Going forward into grade 1s, I've got 1 copy of Witch Frog's Melissa in here too. Same as Chamomile, just a way to keep repeating them. I'm also on 4 copies of Magic of Colored Flames Rare Limb, which when she's placed on rear, other than during the battle phase, as long as you have a Genesis Vanguard, you can Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1 to call a card, then you pick a card in hand and reveal it, and then you call it if it's a unit card grade less than or equal to your Vanguard, and discard it if it's not. And at the end of the battle boosted, as long as you have a Vanguard with only Genesis, you put 2 rear guards, including her, into the Soul, so her and the unit she boosts. You get to pick a card from drop with only Genesis for its clan and add to hand. So if you end up ditching a Vivine at some point, you can add it back. You can get back copies of Ultimate Regalia, because she does retire herself. That can be a way to get her back in the loop. Or if it's really early and you happened to Soul Blast your Vivid Rabbit, you can get that back just as an extra guard or discard. On that, we're also on 4 copies of Battle Sister Coco, who gains 2 skills, as long as your Vanguard only has 1 clan and the G-Zone has no cards. The first skill being that when she's placed on rear, by putting a card from hand into Soul, you check the top cards of your deck. 1 goes to hand, the other either goes to Soul or stays on top. If the card goes to Soul, she gains 5k. On that, when the opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, if they drive check or damage check a trigger, she gets 10k, 10k, so 10k power, 10k guard. So she's either an 18 to 23k booster or a 15k guard in hand when your opponent checks a trigger, whether it's offensively or defensively. It essentially blanks the trigger when using her. On with that, I'm on 3 copies of Dissection Angel, which has 3 abilities. It continues that when the opponent's on grade 3, she gains 2k, so she becomes a 10k booster. At the end of the battle, she boosts. She can Soul Blast 1 and retire herself to draw a card. And when the drive check reveals a trigger, you can Soul Blast 2 to countercharge 1 and give her 5k for the turn. That is a once per turn. And then, of course, PGs. Lastly, going into the trigger lineup, we are on 8 critical triggers, including Blade Feathers. Occasionally the Blade Feathers come up that they can go to Soul. That's very rare, though. 3 front triggers. This is a deck that really focuses on multi-attacking, so making those front row swings bigger is always good. Obviously, 4 heal triggers, because it's fun. And for our over trigger, of course, we are on the Spiritual King of Aquatics, Eidos Faro, which, when it's drove check, you get to pick a card from drop, put it back to hand, and give a unit a critical. Now, let's go into what I really like about this deck. This is a very consistent deck. You really don't need to worry about seeing Minerva in rotation. You are pretty much guaranteed to see the ultimate Regalia of Almighty. On that, you have a lot of resources to keep track of, but you have a lot of ways to keep them in rotation. And Coco, essentially soul charges. by choice. It's not a blind soul charge. Rarelyn puts herself and another card into soul, which also lets you recycle your chamomiles. Vivine on place from hand. Takes a card from drop, puts it back into soul. Oh, both Angelica and Dissection Angel, they countercharge. So you have a lot of countercharge on the deck. None of those are restricted to having not countercharged on the turn either. So you can do both in a single turn. You have a lot going for this deck. Coco functionally blanks your opponent hitting a defensive trigger as a booster. At least the first one. You're hitting 4 drive checks a turn. And Almighty gets rid of the biggest weakness of Minerva, where you have to discard a Genesis for her. Instead, when you go into her, you're just putting a card from hand to soul. It doesn't have to be a Genesis. But even if it is, you get an extra 5k for the front. And you're building up your soul. You're maintaining your most important resource for the deck. And of course, Minerva, she's taking a look at the top of the deck. She's always crying. Nothing in this deck is a blind soul charge except for Witch of Frogs Melissa on place when she's soul blasted. So you are in full control of how you deck thin. You got a lot of card draw with the Dissection Angels, with the Biscottis. You can dig for pieces with the Ace unit, with the Fire Regalis. Even these two are just more card draw. But they also have more function to them. They're also soul. And Vivide's a beater. You have a lot of really powerful cards helping come together and make this deck. The biggest weakness of it is managing the resources, because while you have a lot of them coming in and going out, some matchups, some hands, some really bad runs, you might just not be able to build up everything as well as you'd like. And that happens. But anyways, if you guys like the video, do all the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe. I am glad to be back. I'm probably going to be on a full break for a little bit longer till the release of set 10. But until then, I will see you guys next time. Laters.